Welcome, friends, for another preview of Aspects and Shadows. This is talking about the different aspects in the Shadow of the Galaxy set. There has been a metric ton of leaks. We haven't kept up with all of them, so we're going to be seeing some of these cards for the first time right now. I mean, as opposed to me just putting them in the PowerPoint. But we got Mark here, who is going to shout unlimited power at maximum volume.
Am I? I'd really rather not this early in the video again. It was quite horrifying doing it at the start of the last one.
I was going to say, fine, we'll save that for the very end, so make sure you stick around for that. Yes.
Or not, if you don't want to hear that scary thing. God.
We've got 2 new leaders to look at.
We do.
And we've got 27 new cards. So
is that how many? I didn't count them. It was a lot.
I counted them, so yes, it should be 27. Correct me again if I'm wrong at the very end. Let's jump into Hunter to begin with. Okay. Have you seen Hunter yet, Mark?
I have seen him. I'm curious as to how it's going to work in play. It looks a bit weird and not immediately obvious as to how the action benefit he gives as a leader and as a unit is going to benefit you. Deploying on 7 means that he is, in theory, on a par with Vader, which is pretty powerful. 5/8 stats aren't bad. 5/8 overwhelm is not bad. But on attack, you reveal a resource you control if it shares a name with a friendly, unique unit. So that has to be one that you've already played and is visible on the table. Return the resource to its owner's hand, which is presumably going to be yours, and put the top card of your deck into play as a resource. So it allows you to draw a copy of a card that you've already got in play. I'm not completely clear on how that's good. I mean, card draw is nice, but having another copy of a card that you've already got in play.
So the only advantage could be if you've resourced like a big unit in the early game and you know you resourced it. You've played your big unit now and it's down on like 1 or 2 health and you know it's going to die. So this lets you get the copy of it into your hand, but I suppose you wouldn't know what card you're putting from the top of the deck into resource straight away. Like you wouldn't. That's right. You'd know when you'd put it in as a resource, but until you draw it and play it as a resource, you don't know what you're losing out on, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it could be a smuggle card, and there is a card later on that makes things interesting with regards to cards that don't have the smuggle rule that you put in your resource rack, which we'll get to shortly. But I don't know. I'm not too sure. I could maybe see some uses where, let's say, I don't know, there's multiple versions of Luke. I mean, there aren't. Yeah, there's a leader one and there's a unit one, but maybe later on there'll be multiple versions of Luke, and you could, like, if Luke's in play, you could draw another version of Luke that you'd resource, then maybe that could be good in a few sets on down the line. I'm not entirely sure yet.
Yeah, I think it seems quite niche. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah.
Because you can only ever have 3 of the same card in your deck, so the chances of... Like, I feel like you're not going to be using his action more than like once every 10 turns or 5 turns or something. I don't know.
Thinking about it a bit now, maybe the benefit is that it adds consistency in that, let's say you're making a Bad Batch deck or a Spectre deck or whatever, and you want to have these specific cards and they all synergize with each other, and if one goes away and dies and you want to be able to replace it, this allows you to have multiple copies of that card in your hand to be able to replace it later on if you want to. Then you'd be playing off curve and you'd be playing multiple plays a turn. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay, so that is Hunter. 5/8 though. That is actually the same profile as Vader, right? 5/8?
5/8 is tasty stats. 5/8 overwhelm is definitely tasty stats.
So he is powerful in his own right.
Yeah. He is green, so given the cards that we know, you can run him alongside resupply for resource ramp. He wouldn't benefit from Alliance Dispatcher, and you can't really play Super Laser Tech with him, but there might be other ramp stuff that we've not seen yet in the new set.
And I was going to say the only other thing is he has the clone keyword, which we haven't really seen too much synergy within the clones yet.
No, we're going to see a lot of it in these previews here. There doesn't appear to be a keyword for the Bad Batch like there is for Spectres.
Okay.
But maybe they're just going to go with clone instead.
Maybe they're going to go with clone. Okay, and the other leader that we have seen, and also seems quite strong, is bo-katan.
Bo-katan Kryze.
The Princess in Exile. She comes in on 6 resource and is a 4/7, which is a pretty decent stat line.
It's basically equivalent to Luke.
On attack, you may deal 1 damage to a unit. If you attack with an other Mandalorian unit this phase, you may deal 1 damage to... in this phase you may deal 1 damage to a unit. I missed something there.
So, and when she's just the leader, then you can tap her for an action without paying a resource, because there's no cost in there. If you attacked with a Mandalorian this phase, deal 1 damage to a unit. So she'll help you control the board by putting damage onto other units on the board. If there's a benefit you can get from damaging your own units, she could help with that somehow. If they've got grit that you want to power up, that could be handy. And when she's a leader, she will deal a damage to a unit, and if you attack with another Mandalorian beforehand, she will deal another damage on attack, and before she deals her actual combat damage of 4. So she's like shooting all over the place as she attacks, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, so a bit like how Vader, basically when he attacks, he's able to do 2 damage to something.
Yeah.
This is very similar in that I imagine you'll be running away with the Mandalorian, so you make sure that you've always attacked with another Mandalorian, and then when she attacks, you're doing 2 damage with Vader, same as Vader, but you can do it to 1 damage to 2 individual units.
Or 2 damage to 1 unit. Yes, exactly right.
Yeah, so that in itself is quite strong, because that could pop shields, right?
Yeah, exactly. It'll be less useful against decks which are non-unit focused, like the fashionable tendency of hard control decks that are popping up or beginning to pop up as we record this. But they're definitely in the minority at the moment, so realistically, you want to do damage to base, you need a unit on the board, so it's always going to be useful.
Cool.
Yeah.
An aggression heroism. Have we got another aggression heroism?
Sabine Wren is aggression heroism, and Cassian Andor is aggression heroism. So she'll be competing with those. I like it. The artwork's nice. I can't wait to see what the showcase artwork looks like.
Yeah, they haven't shown any of the showcases.
Amazing. Yet. She's really good in the Mandalorian TV series, of course.
Yeah, played by Katie Sackhoff from Battlestar Galactica. She has her own podcast now on YouTube. I don't know if you knew that.
She does. Yeah, she does interviews. They're very cool. They're very good interviews. She also did the voice of bo-katan in the... Was it the Clone Wars cartoon series? Rebels cartoon? I think it was the Rebels cartoon series she was in before they moved her over to live action.
I think she was in Clone Wars as well. I think she's one of the few people that was doing the voice from the cartoon that managed to keep it over into the live action show. So
just like the Thrawn. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked here.
Oh yeah, we're way sidetracked. Hey, we're Star Wars fans. Deal with it. If you're here, you're probably a Star Wars fan.
Oh yeah, tiny bit Star Wars nerd.
Let's jump into some of the new cards. Let's start with, we'll work left to right, so let's start with First Light, the headquarters of the Crimson Dawn. The Crimson Dawn were the...
Crime Syndicate.
The Crime Syndicate, that's the one, yes.
Yep.
That were in the Solo movie.
Yep, led by Kira, I think was the character's name.
Yep, and then later Darth Maul.
Yep.
Spoiler, I guess. It's got grit. It's a 4/7 spacecraft. It is villainy and vigilance, and it is 7, but also a smuggle 7.
But the cost of the smuggle is you need to deal 4 damage to a friendly unit rather than pay extra resources in doing so. So if you want to smuggle it in, you pay in damaging a friend, which is fine, neither here nor there. Especially if you're playing grit stuff, you can cope with that. I wonder if you could deal 4 damage to itself. I wonder if the timing allows that. At which point it would take 4 damage and then its grit would make it a 8/3. Not sure that timing works. I'll have to double check and look up on that one. Being a 7-cost vigilance villain card, immediately its competition for the 7-drop slot is blokey duelist guy whose name I've temporarily forgotten, played by Christopher Lee. Dooku.
Count Dooku, yes.
Yep. Who has worse stats, but kills someone when he comes in with a hit point level and comes in with his shield. Each other friendly non-leader unit gains grit. I mean, that's good.
That's pretty good.
But is it good on a 7-drop? Because at that point of the game, are you playing much more stuff, or is it a game largely decided at this point?
I was going to say, if you bring it in and you've got a table full of damaged units and you haven't attacked with any of them, then I guess that could be good.
Yeah. Or it's also a damage boost to every other friendly non-leader unit you've got on the board that has taken some damage. Grit doesn't stack, so if you've got multiple instances of grit, you don't get twice the bonus. That's not the way it works, but yeah, it could work. I see some uses for it.
Yeah, I think it could be actually quite good.
Especially when, even if you can't deal the 4 damage to itself through smuggle, if every other friendly non-leader unit gains grit and you deal 4 damage to a friendly unit, you're immediately buffing something by +4 attack when it's gaining grit when doing so, assuming that you give it to a non-leader unit.
Yeah, and it comes in the Space Arena, and I guess 7 hit points is a decent amount for the Space Arena as well. I think it could be. I think it could be decent. It's a rare, so yeah. What about Gentle Giant? This is a common Wookiee with grit. Yep. He's a 2/8 6-drop. On attack, you may heal damage from another unit equal to the damage on this unit.
I mean, that's
very good.
It's obviously very defensive from the word get-go, which is fine. It's not a Sentinel, so you're going to be wanting to attack things to put some damage onto the Gentle Giant, unless you've got ways of damaging your own units, like with that smuggle effect on the first slide. Not that you'd be mixing villain and hero stuff. Yeah, it's interesting. 6-drop vigilance hero card comparison would be Obi-Wan, who's obviously a Sentinel.
Yeah.
Less hit points, higher attack, designed to die and buff things when he dies.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you manage to get this guy in and take 1 or 2 damage on him, and then he's ignored by the opponent, he will do a buttload of healing, which would be nice.
He's a common, so that's good, which means there's potential to see a lot of him in seal play, in pre-releases and whatnot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He'll need some testing, I think.
Yeah, on attack means you're not going to be able to get any benefit from his on attack effect until the turn after you play him.
Yeah. Which is not the greatest for a 6-drop. Right?
Yeah, people like things, especially when they're expensive, to be able to do something the turn they come down, the instant they come down, and this doesn't do that. It's got to ready itself before it can really do much.
Yep.
Not sure that'll see much in competitive off the back of that. We'll see.
Okay. Next up, we have the Clan Challengers, and I love the artwork. I want to take this card just because I think the artwork on it is so cool.
Oh, the artwork's great. Imagine what the hyperspace of this is going to look like. It's going to be so cool.
So they have Raid 3. While this unit is upgraded, it also gains Overwhelm.
Yep.
So, basically,
put a 1-cost upgrade of whatever you like onto it, which is good.
Yeah. Resilient or something, I don't know.
Yep, that may well give it a +1 attack, if not more, depending on what you upgrade it with. It's higher than 3 resource costs, so it's not subjectable to Traitorous, which means you're going to be safe upgrading it potentially. It's red aggression, so you can put it in either a villain or a hero deck quite safely. Also, the fact it's got a basic power of 3 is not nothing, because there's a red card that costs 2 or 3 to play that allows you to ready a unit with a power of 3. And this has a base power of 3. Its power only goes up to 6 while it's attacking.
Yes.
So that is potentially a very nice little synergy right there.
What's the card the red card that lets you do that? Sorry.
Oh, it's
not aggression, is it?
It's an aggression event. I don't recall what it is off the top of my head. Ready something or other. I've not played it, but I did recommend it to Tony earlier to put in his new Cassian deck.
Oh, right. Okay. I haven't played. I need to make a red deck. I haven't actually done that yet. So, cool. Okay. Let's move on. We have Covetous Rivals. I'm not actually sure who these guys are.
Covetous. If you covet something, then you want it.
Okay.
So Covetous Rivals mean they want your stuff. And for the record, the event in question is a 2-cost event called Keep Fighting.
Oh, right. Okay.
Which is ready a unit with 3 or less power.
Nice.
And it's just a single red aspect, so it goes really, really well with that last unit. Anyway, sorry.
Covetous Rivals, then. What TV series or movie were these guys from? I'm not recognizing them.
I think they could probably be from anything. They might be just a random bunch of smugglers from Solo, maybe.
Okay, yeah, it probably fits Solo, yes. So another grit card, a Bounty Hunter, a 5/5 for 6-drop. When played and on attack, you may deal 2 damage to a bounty. So I guess if you have other bounties in play as a 6-drop, like you said, people like doing stuff when they come in. So they do damage straight away when they come in. They do bonus damage to units with bounties every turn they attack.
You can play things on enemy cards to seed bounties across them in the first few turns, ready to play Covetous Rival and shoot them the moment they attack. 5/5 is a bit below the power curve for a 6-drop, but
It is,
Grit
yes.
is nice. And the on attack when played, it's tricky because we don't yet know how niche or widespread bounty is going to be, really. I mean, we can see that clone deserter on the right there is very powerful, but are bounty cards going to see a lot of play? We just don't know yet. We haven't seen enough of the set to judge.
No, and I don't think they give enough previews of the bounty cards yet. So I guess the jury's out on that one. Let's move on to Ketsu Onyo. I don't know this character either.
It doesn't look familiar to me. It feels like it should, but it doesn't.
Okay.
Mandalorian Underworld Bounty Hunter. 2-cost aggression hero. 3/2. So immediately you're on stats par with the 2 costs for it. Hey Tony, you're joining us mid preview. We're looking at the middle card on the screen right now. 3/2 is on power budget for a 2-cost. Saboteur as an extra on top is nice. And when it deals combat damage to a base, you may defeat an upgrade that costs 2 or less. It'll be interesting to determine. So I expect a shield or experience costs 2 or less because they have no cost. Therefore, they cost 0.
I was looking at this card earlier and I was wondering what is the cost officially of a shield?
Yeah.
Because I
guess it's 0.
Yeah.
Because
we were playing a game last night and the sheer number of shields you were able to throw out was really causing me trouble.
We might have to find a clarification on that somewhere.
Yeah, so another way to put in a deck, an aggro deck, effectively as well with a red heroic.
Yep.
To get rid of shields is something a lot better than its 3/2 for 2 stat line would suggest.
Well, that's being a 2-cost means it's turn 1 play. Being a 3/2 on turn 1 is pretty good. That's a good amount of damage.
Yeah.
Being able to ignore sentinels and remove upgrades when it deals combat damage to base is really good for an aggro deck. So I can see this
is an aggro card and a good
rebel aggro card quite happily. Yeah.
It's uncommon, so it should be fairly easy to get hold of as well.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say Moment of Peace is the card that gives you a shield for 0 mana, right? So or 0 resource.
It costs 1. I'm pretty sure it costs 1.
No.
There's only one card that costs 0, and that's Medal Ceremony. That is the only card that costs 0.
Which is a card I've never quite been able to make work.
Oh, I love it. It's great. There was this one time when I was playing a Sabine Green deck and I managed to attack with 2 units that it was against the layer deck, so we were both trying to race aggro damage.
Yeah.
And I attacked with the 2 units I'd got out of the ant cleared. Then I deployed Sabine, attacked with Sabine, and played Medal Ceremony and gave all 3 units +1/+1 for no extra resource cost. It was wonderful.
I just find I rarely have 3 units on the table doing an attack that aren't dead.
So for 0 cost, putting a +1/+1 on 1 unit is good.
Yeah, putting on 3 is definitely not bad. Okay. Yeah, you're right about Moment of Peace. Sorry.
But 1 is not bad in the slightest. Anyway, sorry.
Right, Clone Deserter is up next. For 1 cost, he's a 2/3. He's got a Restore 1 when he attacks. And also, he has a bounty draw a card. When this unit is defeated or captured, your opponent collects its bounty. So that's the negative. That's why you're getting him for 1 cost.
Yes, exactly right.
So far, though, card draw's not really been a thing. I know there's there are some decks that do need it. Things like hand decks do get through quite a lot. My Vader deck gets quite through a lot. But generally, that's a small price to pay for a 2/3 for 1 with Restore.
Running as a green aggro deck, which the popular Sabine Green deck is, that is pretty nice. The Restore 1, okay. The draw a card probably won't be useful much until later in the game, at which point you might have done the majority of your damage. But drawing a card is very, very good. It adds consistency. It adds the likelihood you'll be able to do more of what you're going to do.
Yeah, but that's giving it to your opponent, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So it's no benefit to you.
I don't know. I think I probably still would run him because I often find myself having like 1 spare resource and being able to bring him out late game and just give you that little bit of healing. 2/3 is not nominal to remove either. Things like the Vader pings and stuff like that won't remove him.
I think I would not want to slot him into a Sabine deck as things stand right now, for the basis that I've got so many options I can play on turn 1 that have 3 attack.
Yeah.
I'd rather do that than 2 attack.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't play Mr. Bean deck. I'm thinking more of something that needs a lot of healing.
Yeah.
If you're playing a slower deck where you don't want to get aggro to death quickly,
I'm
you
not
need as
sure.
much healing as you can get.
I think bounties are cool. I think I don't like giving my opponent the positives of playing them. I'm not sure whether the benefits are going to outweigh the downside.
Okay, let's go on to 3 more then. Relentless Pursuit. For 3, it is cunning. Choose a friendly unit. It captures an enemy non-leader unit that costs the same or less than it. If the friendly unit is a bounty hunter, give a shield token to it. So it's a bit like Traitorous.
No, it's not.
No?
No, this buffs one of your units.
Oh, right, yeah, sorry.
Allows your unit to capture somebody else's unit.
And then get...
You can't use that unit. It's not like Traitors where it's your unit.
Yeah, you're right.
No, they're face down underneath the unit that's captured it, and they stay there until the unit that's captured it is killed or goes away, essentially.
And then they go back. So it's
then
a temporary hold.
Yeah. And this allows you to capture a unit from space to ground or ground to space.
Which is handy.
So it's basically
quite
3.
expensive, I feel.
It's 3 to remove a unit temporarily.
It's 3 to remove a unit temporarily and give your shield to your bounty hunter, but if your bounty hunter is a strong character, as in he's going to be tough to remove, then it's more valuable, right? Because...
Well, it'll allow you to capture a bigger unit as well. But
yes.
If your unit's not a bounty hunter, you can still use this on it. It's just not going to get that shield.
We've not seen many expensive bounty hunters yet. I think the most expensive we've seen is Bosk at 5.
Yeah,
I don't think I've seen any more expensive ones yet.
We saw these guys, Bounty Hunter, on the last slide, the Covetous Rivals at 5 as well.
No, 6 as well. Okay, yeah, fair enough.
But the Covetous Rivals, you want them to get hurt because they got grit.
Sure.
So you're not really worried about shields. Well, I mean, all right, yeah, get them hurt a bit, then stick a shield on them by all means.
Ultimately, it's more removal options for the cunning player, which is never going to be bad.
Yeah. I just think for 3, I'd rather.
If it's bounty hunter doing it, it makes it more difficult to get rid of the capturer because they've got a shield in doing so.
Yeah, so this
card
might synergize if you have a lot of bounty hunters in your deck. Okay.
You won't want to play it unless you're playing bounty hunters, realistically, just to get the extra bonus.
It's a common, so we'll probably see it a little bit. We're then on to Reputable Hunter, which is a 3/4 bounty hunter. If the enemy has a bounty, this unit costs 1 less to play.
So 3/4 stats for 3 are on the power budget, which is fine. 3/4 for 2, that's pretty good.
It's very good, yes.
But you can only play it if there's a bounty unit in play on the enemy's side.
I wonder if there's...
It depends really on how prolific bounties are going to be in opponents' decks, isn't it? We've seen quite a few bounty cards, but not enough to make that judgment. If everybody's running loads of cards with bounties, then this guy's going to be really good. If nobody's running them because, like Mark says, he doesn't like giving free things to his opponent.
Well, one of the first cards spoiled or shown off by FFG in the new set was a card, an upgrade that you can play on an enemy unit, which gives them a bounty. So you can make things have a bounty on them that didn't have it before.
Yeah, I guess it's going to come down to if there's, like, for example, if you had like a 1-cost bounty that you could play on an enemy. Do we know what the lowest bounty cost was?
We've only seen the one granting bounty cards so far. Although they did say there's highly likely to be more without committing to telling us how many there were going to be.
Okay.
I love the art for the next one.
Take Captive, yes. This is a Clone Wars piece of art, is it?
Yeah, it's Obi-Wan when he gets captured by Dooku.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
A friendly unit captures...
interests me more.
Oh, all right, you tell us about it.
Well, the thing is that at first glance, it's the same as Relentless Pursuit, but not quite as good because it doesn't give you a shield to your bounty hunters. But the fact that it work on any card means that your very cheap card could capture a very expensive one.
Yeah.
So if you've got someone who's worked very hard to put a very powerful unit into play,
and it could be a Sentinel or something,
then they are likely not to have much else in play at the time, generally, depending on the type of deck. So you could nick it with a very crap card, theoretically, And even if you only take it for a couple of turns, it's still quite useful.
Do you mind if I take a brief controller's screen share for just a moment?
Of course not. Do I need to hit stop presenting or?
No, I don't think so. I think I can probably
Override it.
Change it from here. Yeah. So here we go. So I'm just going to share the initial upgrade that they showed as a bounty when they first announced the set. So we can see here it's a 0 cost upgrade that puts a bounty on an enemy unit, because you wouldn't want to put it on a friendly unit. That would be silly.
No. So you could
in theory, on turn 1, play this on an enemy unit that they've just played if they've got the initiative. Then you play your guy for 2 rather than for 3, and you bring out a fairly powerful turn 1 play. And then the following turn, when you manage to kill the enemy unit that's got the bounty, you get to ready 2 resources.
Yeah, that's very strong, actually.
Yeah.
Especially because it's 0 cost, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I apologise. I've finished taking over the screen.
I'm really excited for the bounty mechanic. I think there's some really cool stuff going on there. And I think it's going to make some interesting games.
Putting bounties on other enemy units is definitely going to be interesting.
Okay. Let's move on to...
Have we seen anywhere of removing a bounty yet?
I've seen a bunch of cards that defeat upgrades, and bounties are classed as...
This particular bounty is an upgrade.
Yeah, bounties in general, if they're printed on the card, then they're printed on the card.
Yeah.
No, I wondered if there was some sort of event or something, or card that means that bounties can't be collected or something like that we've seen, but I don't think I've seen anything like that.
Not that I've seen yet, no. Is the layout okay, or have I messed the layout up?
No, we're good.
No, you're good, are you? Okay, cool. All right.
Oh, I've jumped forward on too many slides. Okay, L337, the droid from the Solo movie that eventually got integrated into the Millennium Falcon, right? A 2 cost.
I've watched it a long time. I don't remember.
I've never seen it.
I remember the character's really good though. She was very funny.
She eventually becomes. Oh, it's a big spoiler. She becomes the computer inside the Millennium Falcon. That's why Han Solo always calls her she. I guess in the future movies.
I'll have to rewatch it again.
And she's a ship. All ships are she's.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah,
true. They tried a bit harder with the retcons and that.
He. Can you imagine just calling any ship he?
Well, that's the thing.
All vessels and ships are indeed.
If you've not seen that movie, they tried really hard to shoehorn too many things like that into it. So, when played, she may rescue a captured card. If you don't, you give a shield token to this unit. She also can be...
On turn 1, that's a 2/2 shielded, potentially, which is pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah. She also can be smuggled in. Yep. So she could be played as a resource and saved for when the enemy capture your units. That might be an interesting play.
2 extra resources to just
quite
rescue
expensive
that one
smuggle in.
thing.
But then, I don't know, maybe... Yeah, she's quite expensive to smuggle in to just rescue a card. So it really depends on what card you didn't want to get nicked.
Well, like if the example you just gave where they nicked your Relentless or something.
Yeah.
If you knew that we had her down as a resource, could be interesting to just be like, I would like my card back, thank you very much.
Yeah, but 4's a lot.
It's cheaper than a Vanquish, which is what will get rid of another unit that's, in general, just doing the stuff.
Yeah, but it's not cheaper than like, well, I mean, 4, is it slightly more expensive than Open Fire?
It's same as Open Fire, same as Takedown. More expensive than Power of the Dark Side. So having the option from the resource row is never going to be bad.
No.
Yeah, I think that's the way I would look at it.
The thing is, it doesn't cost you anything to put it in a resource row, does it?
No, not really.
So if it's there and you need it, then wonderful.
Yeah. 2/2 shielded on turn 1 isn't bad. It's not great, but it's not bad.
Yeah. Okay. She is uncommon. Let's move on to the Pirate Battle Tank.
Yep.
This is a 4/6 ground sentinel with the villainy aspect. It can be smuggled in for 7 for 4/6. So there's only one more to smuggle it in.
Yeah, 4/6 for sentinel feels a little bit low powered for 6 resources.
I think he's a bit expensive, to be honest.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well. Does seem expensive.
And generally, I haven't got 7 resource lying around when I need a sentinel.
No.
But the flip side of that is, of course, I mean, if you smuggle it in for 7, then it's an alternative to having to fill your green-black 7 slot with Darth Vader.
Well, that is a problem for me.
It's a problem for many people.
I do wonder, though, how many times do you get close to the end of the game, right? And I'm looking at your cards that are on the board, and I'm thinking, if I just had a Sentinel here, I can live for one more turn. That is a thing that happens, right? So having it in your resource roll might not be the word. Like, you put 3 of them in your deck to play.
Unless it's overwhelm, you can do that with a cell block card.
Yeah. Ultimately, Sentinel is good because the moment you play it has an immediate effect on the board and the game state, which is great.
And villainy Sentinels are not as good as heroic.
No. Okay. It might get some play.
A little bit. I don't see why they get better Sentinels.
Because, I don't know, the dark side is meant to be more aggressive and the light side is meant to be more defensive.
So give it some more better attacking things as well, because nobody actually yet I've seen has done a proper villainy aggression deck yet.
No, I haven't seen a villainy aggression deck.
I don't think you can build a villainy aggression deck at the moment. Not really.
The Vader Blue that won the 5K in America is aggression because it's Vader.
No, it's just angry. That's not aggression, it's angry.
Either way. It technically uses the aggression aspect if that was what you meant.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
An aggression style deck. We've got Sabine, it's quite hot. You've got Leia versions of it. I'm playing with a Cassian one at the moment, trying to make that work.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anybody do a Vader aggression deck.
Okay.
It's got a red IG-88.
Aggro, yeah, IG-88 is not great because of the stuff it requires you to have on the board to make use out of it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay, so who wants to say this next card's name in Greedo's voice?
McClunky. So when they were doing the stream, when they were revealing all of these, this was a hidden reveal that they weren't going to do unless somebody in chat could spell McClunky correctly in chat.
Okay. And someone did?
Yes. Well, they did, otherwise it wouldn't be here. But yes, absolutely.
So return a friendly non-leader underworld unit to its owner's hand. If you do, deal 3 damage to a unit.
Okay. So let's say you've got Greedo on the board, who's a 1-cost 3/1. You can pay 1 to return Greedo to your hand, and if you do, deal 3 damage to another unit and shoot someone.
It's not the worst thing for 1 mana, is it?
No.
It's not awful. It's going to depend on just how many underworlds are kicking around in your deck.
And why? Is it going to be really worth dealing 3 damage to a unit to return a bit of board presence back to your hand?
It depends on what it is, because I have done that on purpose before when I've got a big, powerful unit that's taking a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's only 1 hit left in it. Well, I'll bring that back to my hand, and then we can put that back down again. You can deal with it all over again.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, if somebody uses Entrenched on you, so a unit can't attack your base, that's a good way to get rid of the Entrenched by bringing it back to your hand so you can replay it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe it's not a bad card, actually. You have to say, anytime you play this, you have to say it, though. Like, that should have been the rule.
McClunky.
Alright, let's move on to some more red cards. This is the Night Owl Skirmisher. This is a character from the Mandalorian TV show. A 4/3 for 3 seems a little bit costly. With Smuggle for 5.
It's a Mandalorian TV show, not from Rebels.
I don't think she's bad, but
both
doesn't have much. She doesn't really have any immediate impact. And unlike other things you can smuggle in, even if you do smuggle her in, all you've done is just put something on the board.
Yeah.
You can't do anything with that.
4/3 for 3 is
It's
solid
not bad.
stats. If you just look at it as a basic 4/3 for 3, that's not bad.
I think I prefer something else than that. When you think, it's only a 3/3, your Fleet Lieutenant is 3/3 for 3 and has a really powerful immediate effect.
Yep.
I just feel like she needs something else to be seeing much play.
I think that something else may well come from Mandalorian synergies.
Yes,
Possibly,
it could indeed.
It could be.
But either way, having a base 4 attack on a 3-drop card isn't bad.
Okay, let's look at Tech next. He is a Bad Batch clone, I guess. But Bad Batch aren't clone. Bad Batch isn't a keyword. So each friendly resource gains Smuggle. The gain Smuggle cost is that card's cost plus 2 and its aspect icons. You predicted this exact thing like 2 weeks ago, Mark.
Did I?
Well, if it wasn't
Okay.
you, it was Tony. I'm sure it was you.
Definitely wasn't me. But my predictions are always wrong.
Fair enough. I think I saw the possibility of this coming along. I didn't know whether they would or not, but no, it makes sense that they've done it. Now it's only in effect whilst tech's in play. Speaking of which,
I really like this card. I think this is a really powerful card.
It is, yes. So anything.
I feel sad reading this card.
Why?
Because I watched the Bad Batch cartoon series.
Okay.
And it's very good.
So he's 2/5 for 3.
And you can smuggle him in.
2/5 for 3 is good.
But I think it's just the power of basically every single card that you have down as a resource is now eligible to be played again.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And 5 is a lot.
Yeah.
5's a real pain to remove because there's a lot of
4's a pain to remove on a 1 cost, isn't it, Tony?
Yeah. Oh, that was ridiculous. That was a ridiculous game, and we're not talking about that ever again. That was stupid.
How much was he hitting you for each time he swung?
Well, 6.
I think it was at least 5.
Yeah,
so we had a 1 cost R2, and I managed to put +4/+4 on him fairly quickly.
Well,
and shield.
Oh yeah, and shield.
Of course, the shield.
With 2 sets of bloody wing leader experiences on him.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think Tech is a cool card. I guess if you're playing Heroism, he's going to be... I think you might want to take a couple of them. He is rare.
Yeah. Which is fine. At 2/5, he's not a visible, immediate danger going to be doing loads of damage to you, and his hit points are high enough that he's going to be annoying to get rid of, so he might be a low priority for your opponent to get rid of.
He's going to be a real pain if you upgrade him as well. A bit like that R2 was.
Yes and no. He is a 3 cost, though, so you can traitorous him.
Yes, you can.
If you're playing as a risk. Yeah. Or you're not playing green, you want to take the aspect penalty, but either way, it's unlikely.
I don't think you would with traitorous. I don't think it's good enough to do that, to run out.
Not for 7.
Okay. Cripple Authority is a draw card. Each opponent who controls more resources than you discards a card.
I think this is hot garbage.
Good, so do I.
I think this is the first card that I've seen that I can see an immediate must-take situation for in
if you're playing
tier 1 decks.
If you're playing a ramp deck against a ramp deck, then this is relatively powerful.
Yeah. If you're playing Sabine aggro straight away, I mean, Boba is 90% of your opponents right now. They play ramp, they want a ramp. Control decks want to ramp into Vader or Palpatine or whatever else. There's a lot of things that want to ramp against you if you're playing an aggro deck. And if you can remove cards from their hands, limiting what they can do when they get to the end, when they want to play their key cards, when they want to disrupt your plays, this is a brilliant card.
As a counterpoint to that, and this is why I'm not so hot on it, even for aggro, it costs 2.
Yep.
Which is not an insignificant amount with an aggro deck that's trying to get a lot of fairly cheap cards out.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of 2-drops and that you want because you want to be doing damage to your opponent.
Yep.
And early on in the game, you don't have 2 spare resource to do it.
Yep.
Later on in the game, if you're playing aggro, you're often already won.
Yep.
So I just think that you'll find yourself pulling this when you really want units in aggro.
I appreciate the point of view. It doesn't inherently add to the damage that you're
against me.
Rushing
onto the base. I have a problem with running out of cards in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
So taking away the 1 or 2 cards that I have got is going to be a real issue.
Yep. And adding card bonus for playing it as well at the same time. I like it. I think it's great.
Cool. All right, we'll split it right down the middle. I think it really is going to depend on when you draw it, right? Thing is, if when you draw it, you could always just choose it as to put it into resource. It's not the end of the world.
But you just don't want to end up with a card full of bloody tricks and events.
Yeah. Ideally, you want your deck to be full of things you want to play. But no, I get you.
Having a couple of situational picks in there. I can see it being a sideboard card, to be honest.
Okay. Omega next. Part of the squad. A 2/2 for 2. Ignore the aspect penalty on the first clone that you play each round. When played, search the top 5 cards of your deck for a clone card, reveal it, and draw it.
Do you two have any idea who this character is?
I do, yes.
Boba's brother or something?
Sort of. She's one of the Bad Batch, basically.
Yeah.
She's a female clone of Jango Fett, ultimately.
I don't think this is very good unless suddenly like clone decks become like amazing. And there's a few reasonable clone cards. 2/2 for 2. All right, she does do something when you play her, but ignore the aspect penalty of the first clone you play each round. She's not going to live long enough for that to have any effect on anything.
Well, maybe. I mean, ultimately, she's obviously what Hera is for the Spectres. She facilitates the Bad Batch deck being put together, which is fine.
Hera does it as your leader.
Yeah, I think as the
then
leader.
You can't remove her.
She also does nothing else.
Yeah, that is true. The only person who likes Hera is John.
Not the only person, but no,
on Earth.
It's not a popular deck. It's true. I don't know. Without seeing the full spectrum of everything the Bad Batch can do throughout this expansion, we've got no real idea to gauge how useful this is.
They might be an absolutely incredible Bad Batch deck.
Yeah.
That John's going to build and absolutely annihilate us with.
Yeah, but 2/2 for 2 is not great. It's not bad. Aspect penalty, maybe. Top 5 cards for a clone card and reveal it and draw it is going to help out your initial curve. So, yeah, sure, that'll be useful. Okay.
Deathwatch Loyalist then.
Yes. Mandalorian Trooper with Grit and Overwhelm. 3/3 for 3.
Well, which is interesting. Because most of the Mandalorians we've seen have been heroic aspect.
There's been a couple that are neutral, but yeah.
I quite like this card.
Makes me wonder if we're going to see a red villain leader, which is going to be the leader of the Death Watch, whose name temporarily escapes me. Blokey Vizsla.
Pre-Vizsla? Yeah, I was going to say Pre-Vizsla.
Can't remember his name.
But we also saw Darth Maul on the Shadow of the Galaxy art that they shared before, and we haven't seen him, so we don't really know. I mean, he led the Death Watch for a while, right?
Did he?
Technically, yeah, he ran Mandalore for a little while, yeah.
So I guess we'll see.
I quite like this card.
3/3 for 3 is a little bit underpowered. Grit is nice. Overwhelm is nice. But you haven't got a lot of damage to do Overwhelm stuff with.
You haven't. No, you're going to do... The best you're going to get is 5.
Unless you upgrade him more.
I think he's okay, I think.
He's not unplayable. He's got a lot of stuff on him.
I like the idea of sticking him down and making things that have a 2 attack him.
Yeah. Or attacking something with 2 attack anyway. No, that would...
Yeah.
It's obviously got synergy straight away with the Death Trooper, which does 2 damage to a friendly unit when you play it straight away. Which will beef this up to a 5/1.
Which,
I mean, I guess if you're just trying to take down the base quickly, it could work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how to do it. I've just got this gut feeling that he could become quite a powerful card, even though we haven't seen how to do that just yet.
Yeah.
It's a good combination. Grit and Overwhelm does work very well together, as we've seen. There's only a full cost to do it.
So he's cheap to play, but he can also be traitorous.
It's cheap to play, but he can also be traitorous.
Which is not common, but it is always a danger you've got to bear in mind, which is why I mention it every time it's a thing.
Okay. Echo.
Echo's cool. 4/4 for 4 is a tiny bit under curve, but Restore 2 is very tasty. When played, discard a card from your hand. 2 experience tokens of a unit play with the same name as discarded card.
I think
so
that's
that could
very
be him.
Niche. Yeah, it could be him, I suppose.
You've got 2 copies of Echo in your hand. For 4 resources, you can make Echo a 6/6 Restore 2, which is tasty.
I think it depends on how many unique units you run in your deck, I think, to whether that's going to be something you use a lot or not.
Yeah.
I think these
whether
ones...
you tend to run 1 of cards, or if you would like going for 3 of each of the cards that you're playing.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we have to try those ones out, because those ones feel to me the ones where you're discarding stuff with the same name. Seems like you can just go through some games and never get to use that ability.
You can, and generally, if you've got multiple copies of a card, you tend to resource one of them and keep one of them to play. So maybe it's not the best idea.
I think I'd view it as a bonus. It's a thing that could happen. That's a nice thing to be able to happen every now and again. Yeah. So generally, you're looking at it as a 4/4 for 4 with Restore 2.
Yeah.
Which is not bad.
Not bad.
Okay. Ruthlessness. Attached unit gains. When this unit attacks and defeats a unit, deal 2 damage to the defending player's base. +2/+0 is a rare upgrade.
Doing damage directly to your enemy base is valuable right there.
Yeah,
And +2 attack.
Yeah, +2 is good as well. So for one cost, this is not bad.
I think this is a good card.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Imagine putting this on like Ruthless Raider or something.
Yeah.
So you got the Ruthless Raider.
You know how much I love that card.
Yeah,
I do, yeah. It's a great card.
It's a good card. It's a rare as well. Next up, we've got Koska Reeves.
Yep. She was one of the Mandalorians in the series working alongside bo-katan.
So she's a 4/5 for 4. Aggression, heroism, and on attack, if this unit is upgraded, you may deal 2 damage to a ground unit. Definitely doesn't seem bad.
I think that's quite powerful in the right sort of deck. If you've got a lot of upgrades, or if you're playing something like a Luke deck where it's very easy to put shield on her.
Yep.
Which counts as an upgrade.
Or a way of putting an experience token on her.
Or a way of putting an experience token on her. She can become quite powerful. Oh, medal ceremony.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can you use that? No, she's not a rebel.
Oh no, she's not a rebel. She's a Mando. Okay. I still think it's a good card.
Yeah, she's got potential.
Doctor, I don't know how to say his last name. One you guys know?
Ivarzen.
So this is the guy from A New Hope. He is a 2-cost 3/3 and he's shielded. However, his bounty has some definite side effects in that when the enemy kills him, they can ready up to 12 resources.
I don't know why. I mean, it's funny, and you can say, I love the fluff of that.
Yeah.
Because he's wanted 12 times.
Yeah.
Yes.
Excuse me, I have the death sentence on 12 systems, matey.
Yeah. I don't know why you'd play that. You're just saying to someone, have a free turn if you put him in play.
If you play him early, like if you play him on turn 1, he's a 3/3 for 2 shielded, which is pretty overpowered.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's not game breakingly overpowered, but it's overpowered.
But do you do enough with that?
Resources that they've got that they spent beforehand, which is nice.
I was going to say, do you do enough in turn 1 and 2 to let them get back 3 or 4 resources? How many they have down at that point?
Is the question. And given that you shield, it might take a few turns to actually remove him. Yeah,
you're basically giving your opponent a free turn.
Yeah, I think if they'd made it like ready 3 resources or something, that would have probably been fine. But I guess 12 is the lower.
I don't think it'd be worth playing.
Would it have been worth playing if it was like 3 resources? But I mean, it's a theoretical question, I guess. Okay, let's move on. We've got the Pike Sentinel, a 2/3 Sentinel for 2. This Underworld.
It's over curve. It's great. Straight away, there is absolutely no reason not to play this card.
If you've got a blue deck, I think you'll see this card.
Yeah.
Because it's just 1 less than your cell block guard. Does the same job.
Yep. Follower of the Way, a 1/3 Mando for 2. But the second he gets upgraded, he gets +1/+1.
Yep.
So bring him in, shield him with Luke or something, right?
Yeah.
Either shield him, XP token, Ruthlessness on him. Ruthlessness on him would make him 4/4?
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
For a total cost of 3. And doing damage when he kills someone. Yeah.
Okay. Next up we have...
I think you wouldn't play it in a general deck.
Only one that's got a lot of upgrades.
Not great. You want to build the deck to be making the most of the synergies, yeah.
But the Mandalorians do look like they're going to have a bunch of upgrades, so maybe this synergizes with the Mando deck, I guess.
Yeah.
It makes me think that he's going to be in the starter deck.
Maybe. He's on ground, but he's got a jetpack there. There you go.
He's not in space. He's not flying in space.
He's a ground unit.
Yeah.
IG-11, apparently his subtitle is I Cannot Be Captured.
You can't.
He is a 6/5 for 5. If this unit would be captured, defeat him and deal 3 damage to each enemy ground unit instead. On attack, you may deal 3 damage to a damaged ground unit. So this is the scene from The Mandalorian where his guns are shooting everywhere. This is the lore behind it.
I think this guy looks wicked.
He looks really solid. I can
It's
see
5
this
for
having
5 is not
potential in a
bad.
lot of decks here.
Yeah.
His on attack ability can be quite powerful.
Yes, I think so.
And
Especially
the
if you
bonus,
ping it in with Vader, who can just damage things left, right, and centre quite happily, potentially.
absolutely. And then couple that with the really quite fun anti-capturing mechanic.
So his anti-capturing mechanic, though, will never kick in, right? Unless your opponent is dumb and tries to capture him?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
There might be some units we haven't seen yet that always capture rather than kill.
At which point, it feels like a fluff thing rather than an actual
game
It's
mechanic.
just a bonus. It's just a little bonus.
Okay, alright, cool. IG-11, possibly better than IG-88. And this is the last card that I saw. Spare the target. Return an enemy non-leader unit to its owner's hand and collect that unit's bounties. What does it mean by collect?
Just
so
a
if you
special
scroll back to the clone, the green clone that would cost 1 or 2, whatever it was.
Yes, this guy.
Yeah, he's got a bounty. The bounty is draw a card. Collecting the bounty is drawing a card. So you read the text there, it says, when this unit is defeated or captured, your opponent collects its bounty, which is drawing a card.
So if you use the new fancy waylay, you also get to draw a card if you do it to him.
Perfect. And I guess you could put multiple bounties on a unit.
Yeah, potentially.
I mean, you're not going to ditch waylay out of your deck for it. You're going to run them both. Probably.
Yeah. True. Yeah. Cool. That was 27 cards apparently we looked at.
I'll take your word for it.
I don't know how it can be 27 when we did 3 on each slide, so maybe I can't math. Maybe it's 28. But yeah, so that was...
Including the 2 leaders.
Yeah, so maybe that's 29. I don't know. We looked at all the cards that I thought I'd come out until today. Leave your comments down below if you've got any questions about any of the videos or anything that we're doing.
Do the thing.
Do the YouTube thing. Like the video. Yeah. Subscribe.
Like it. Subscribe it.
All that jazz.
Dislike it. Leave us a comment so that we can be algorithmic.
Unlimited power.